Now, most agents are going to tell you that Tampa's amazing, and honestly, they're not wrong. But here's what I've learned after helping over 200 families relocate here. The ones who thrive aren't the ones who moved because Tampa looked perfect. They're the ones who moved because they understood the trade-offs and decided those trade-offs were worth it for their ideal lifestyle. So today, I'm going to tell you the stuff that most realtors dance around, the red flags, the gotchas, the things that make people love it here, and the other people quietly list their house 18 months later. Because if you're researching Tampa Bay, you deserve the full picture before you hire the movers and pack up the pod. So let's get into it. I've sat across from families who did everything right. They researched, they visited, they crunched the numbers and still got surprised in the long run. Not because they weren't smart and because they weren't doing their homework, but because the information they found online was either too scary or too rosy. It was never really calibrated to their actual situation. And you probably know the ones I'm talking about, right? The too scary versions say Florida's insurance is $10,000 a year and you'll get wiped out by a hurricane. And there's truth to that. The too rosy version says it's all sunshine and no state income tax and everything works out. But the reality is the truth lives somewhere in the middle, and the middle is where the good decisions actually get made. And I'm also someone who's lived this experience. My wife Kate and I moved our family of 5 down here over 7 years ago. We sold almost everything we owned. I know what it feels like to wonder if you're about to make the best decision in your life or a very expensive mistake. So let's walk through those real red flags, not to scare you, but so you can figure out if they actually apply to your situation. And by the way, if you're already deep in research, feel free to skip around. The timestamps are in the description. I'd rather you get exactly what you need than sit through stuff you already know. So let's start with the one nobody wants to say out loud. It's the heat. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. June through September in Tampa is hot. Not, oh, it's warm weather hot. It's, I walked to the mailbox or from my car into Publix and now I need a second shower kind of hot. The humidity is real, and that's also our rainy season where we have afternoon thunderstorms almost daily. And if you're coming from somewhere with actual seasons, that first summer is going to be an adjustment. And here's how I like to think about it or describe it. Tampa really has 2 seasons. It has the one that everyone pictures, November through May. It's absolutely incredible. Low humidity, 70-degree days, you're outside all the time. And that's the postcard that you see online everywhere. The other season is summer. And summer here is basically what winter is in the Midwest or in the Northeast. You're inside more, you plan around the afternoon thunderstorms, you run errands in the morning, you really learn to appreciate air conditioning in a way you never did before. So the question isn't, can I handle the heat? The question is, do you like being outside in January more than you like being outside in July? If you're a homebody anyways, someone who's happy with a pool, a lanai, and a good book, summer here is fine. If you need to be hiking or biking every day of the year, Tampa might not be the best place. And that's okay, right? Because this isn't going to be for everyone. And the honest truth is this, most people who move here and leave don't leave because of insurance and hurricanes. They leave because they underestimated the summer. So I'd rather you know that now than figure out in August after you've already moved here. So that's a lifestyle filter. Now let's talk about the money stuff, because this is where people actually get surprised. If you've been looking at homes in places like Wesley Chapel, Land O'Lakes, Riverview, basically any of the newer master plan communities, you've probably seen something called Cdd fees. And if you're like most home buyers I work with, you've kind of glossed over it. And honestly, that's a huge mistake. CDD stands for Community Development District. It's basically a special taxing district that lets developers build infrastructure, including the roads, drainage, parks, amenities, and pass that cost along to the homeowner over time through an annual assessment, instead of slapping hundreds of thousands of dollars on top of the price. And the thing is, CDD fees don't show up in your mortgage pre-approval. They don't show up in Zillow's monthly estimate. They show up on your property tax bill every year, and they can run anywhere from $500 on the low end for something that's almost paid off to over $6,000 a year or more, depending on the community, the property, the size of your lot, the amenities in your community specifically. I had a client last year. It was a military family relocating from North Carolina, and they found a house in Wesley Chapel that they absolutely loved. The price was great, the house checked every box, but when we pulled the tax bill, the CDD fee was over $3,200 a year, plus an $1,800 HOA fee annually, which added an extra $400 a month that they hadn't really budgeted for. So what we ended up doing was finding them a different home in an established community with no CDD and a very nominal HOA. Same square footage, it had better schools actually, and their total monthly cost was a lot lower. And this is what happens when you just research online all day and you don't have a full understanding of what it actually takes or how much it's actually going to cost you. And here's the thing, CDD fees aren't inherently bad because they're exactly how you get the newer communities with pools, playgrounds, nice cityscapes, and great lighting without waiting on the county to build them because counties aren't building them anymore. But you really need to be aware of what you're signing up for because the price and the cost of ownership are typically two completely different things. And the rule that I always use is make sure you calculate the total number that home is going to cost you every year. So we're talking about the purchase price plus the property taxes plus the CDD fees if there are any, and HOAs plus insurance. Then divide that number by 12 and that's going to be your real monthly number. If someone shows you a house and doesn't mention that math, find someone who will. A $400,000 house with a $4,000 CDD and a $2,000 HOA costs the same to own roughly as a $450,000 house that doesn't have either one of those things. If the community and amenities are worth it to you, great. They are to a lot of our clients, but you should still choose that on purpose, not discover it during the process. Now, CDDs are predictable. You can look them up, budget for them, plan around them. The next one is a little bit trickier, and that's because numbers vary so wildly, it's really hard to know what is real and what's not. So let's talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room, homeowners insurance. Now, this is the question that everyone asks about, and honestly, it's one with the most misleading headlines as well. And you've probably seen the statistics all over the news. Florida has some of the most expensive homeowners insurance in the country. Average premiums are over $10,000 a year, and if that's where your research stopped, I understand why you're nervous. But here's the thing those numbers don't tell you. That $10,000 average, it's heavily skewed by coastal properties. Miami Beach, the Keys, Barrier Islands, where replacement costs are high and the storm exposure is extreme. In Tampa Bay, the numbers look very different. The average here runs closer to $3,800 to $5,200 a year, depending on the property, which is still high compared to most states, but it's nowhere near that apocalyptic number that you're reading about online. And here's why that really matters, because the range is literally enormous. I have a team member here, Stacy, who owns a home in Wesley Chapel. And as a matter of fact, it's in Epperson, one of the beautiful lagoon communities. And her annual premium is less than $1,800 a year. Same coverage levels you expect anywhere else. And here's why. She's in a non-flood zone, newer construction. Now the house is almost 2 years old, right? Excellent construction standards in the state of Florida, and the stuff insurers actually care about. Meanwhile, I've seen quotes of $8,000 to $10,000 in areas like Tarpon Springs and South Tampa. These homes had original roofs, no storm mitigation at all. And when you think about it, this is the same metro area, but wildly different pricing. So the question isn't, is Florida insurance expensive? The question is, what drives the price, and can I buy a home that checks the right boxes? So here's what the insurance companies are looking at: the roof age and the type of roof. A 2025 roof costs dramatically less to insure than a 2005 roof, if you can even get it insured. The type of construction, concrete block versus traditional stick built. We don't build hardly any wooden frame buildings anymore. But if you live anywhere near the coast, most of our construction after 2002 is all concrete, at least on the first level. When it comes to storm mitigation, what does that mean? Well, that means limiting your risk when it comes to storms. Hurricane shutters, impact windows, proper roof tie downs. And of course, there is location. Flood zone matters. Are you in flood zone X, which technically doesn't require flood policy, which is awesome, lowers the insurance cost, but so does the distance from the coast, so keep that in mind as well. And when I'm helping families relocate, insurance is part of the search criteria from day one. It's not something that we want to check after we're already emotionally attached to a house. I always recommend my clients to get their insurance quote during their inspection phase or their due diligence phase. Or maybe they're looking at coastal homes or historic homes in areas like Old Northeast in St. Petersburg or in Hyde Park Village in Tampa as an example. And then what we'll do is we'll actually get an insurance quote before we even write the offer. That way they have a clear understanding of what they're about to get themselves into. Here's the bigger picture. Yes, Florida insurance costs more than Ohio or Michigan or most likely New York, for an example, but Florida also has no state income tax, lower property taxes in most areas, and when you run the complete numbers, what you keep versus what you pay, the math often works out, especially if you're coming from high tax states like in the Northeast or maybe Illinois or even out west or the Pacific Northwest as an example. But you have to do the math for your specific situation, not the state average, your situation. I call this the full cost of ownership calculation. Purchase price is just the beginning. Insurance, taxes, HOA, CDD, maintenance, that's what you're actually paying every single year. And the families who run the numbers before they buy are the ones who never feel blindsided. Now here's something I don't share in every video, but I've shared many times before. A couple years ago, we had flooding in our home, and it wasn't from a hurricane storm surge. It was because of the heavy rain that came down with the storms and drainage issues we didn't fully understand when we bought our home. And as a matter of fact, didn't reveal themselves for almost 6 full years. Now we dealt with it. And to be honest with you, I don't ever want to have to go through that again. We recovered, but it taught me something I now tell every client. Flood risk is not optional homework in Florida. Standard homeowners insurance does not cover flooding. Listen to me again. It doesn't matter how expensive your policy is. If water comes from outside your home, storm surge, overflowing drainage, rising groundwater, your homeowner policy doesn't touch it. For that, you need separate flood insurance, either through FEMA's National Flood Insurance Program or a private carrier. And those flood rates in Florida range from around $400 annually in low-risk zones like mine to up to $2,500 or more in high-risk areas. Tampa participates in FEMA's community rating system at a class 5, which gives you approximately a 25% discount on those National Flood Insurance Program premiums in those designated flood hazard areas. In unincorporated Pinellas County, where I live, it actually has a class 2 rating, which gets a 40% discount. But here's what I want you to understand. Flood zones are not just coastal. Inland flooding happens in the state of Florida. Remember, this is a peninsula on the ocean. Drainage issues happen. So the properties that aren't in special flood hazard areas still flood when summer thunderstorms are relentless. It can happen. So before you buy here, here's what I do. Pull the flood FEMA map for your specific property. Ask for the elevation certificate. You can usually find that on the county map as well. Check the historical claims on the property. That's what we're going to do during that due diligence phase. And don't just trust the zone. Walk the lot. Look at the drainage around the home. Ask the neighbors. Yes, flood insurance adds cost. That's real, but it's also protection you can actually afford. The families who get devastated by floodings aren't the ones who paid $1,000 a year for coverage. They're the ones who skipped it because they weren't technically required to have it. We are living examples of this, and if I could teach you anything is learn the lesson and let me wear the scar. I'd rather you budget for it up front than find out the hard way when the entire first floor isn't covered. All right, so we've covered the heat, CDDs, homeowners insurance, flood insurance. There's one more that everyone asks about, and it's the one where the perception and the reality are honestly the farthest apart. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, hurricanes. If you're moving to Florida, and if you're anything like us, you're gonna think about hurricanes. Your family's gonna ask about hurricanes. Every news cycle from June through November, you're going to see something in the news about a system in the Gulf. So let me tell you what I've learned living here for 7 years and what I've observed helping families navigate this. First, the history. Tampa Bay's last direct hit from a major hurricane was 1921, over a century ago. And it's not because Tampa is immune, it's mostly geographic luck. The way the bay curves, the typical storm tracks, a lot of the systems that look threatening have veered north or south at the last minute. But those close calls create real stress. Evacuations happen, preparation happens. If you've never boarded up your windows or filled sandbags or sat in a hotel in Orlando wondering what you were gonna come home to, that's part of living in Florida. And I'm most certainly not gonna tell you that hurricanes are no big deal. They are a big deal, and anyone who dismisses them is doing you a disservice. But here's what I will say. Hurricanes are a known risk with known preparation, and you know they're coming days in advance. You know what to do, and there's an actual playbook. Compared to a tornado that just drops without warning like it did for us in the Midwest, or an earthquake where you hope your building just holds up, or a wildfire that moves faster than evacuation, hurricanes are scary, but they are manageable if you're prepared. And what does that preparation actually look like? Well, newer construction with hurricane codes, anything built after 2002 was actually designed for this. Impact windows or hurricane rated shutters, A generator plan for power outages, because that will happen too. Flood insurance. Remember that flood insurance, even if you're not required to have it. I carry it now, of course, $450 a year. Man, what I would have done to have that in place to begin with. And mental preparation. The storm itself is often less stressful than the anticipation of it, trust me. And honestly, the people I see handle hurricane season the best are the ones who aren't pretending the risk doesn't exist. They've made peace with it. They've got their plan, their supplies, their insurance, and when the system spins up in the Gulf, they're not panicking, they're executing a checklist. And if that sounds exhausting to you, that's totally fair. But for most of the families I work with, it becomes just another part of life here. Like shoveling snow used to be, except it happens maybe 2 weeks of the year instead of 4 to 5 months. So, red flags. The heat is real. CDDs can add hundreds to your monthly payment if you're not careful. Homeowners insurance varies wildly, and you need to shop for homes with insurance in mind. Flood zones matter more than most buyers realize, and hurricanes are part of life here. And honestly, none of that is a real reason not to move. It's a reason to move with your eyes wide open. Because the families I see who thrive here didn't just move because Tampa was perfect. They moved because they understood exactly what they were trading. Winter shoveling for summer humidity, state income tax for higher insurance, certain risk for other risk. And when you make that trade consciously, when you run the numbers, prepare properly, and choose a home that's set up for this environment, most people find that the lifestyle is absolutely worth it, myself included. And that's not a sales pitch, y'all. That's just what I've seen with my own eyes. Because good stewardship isn't about pretending that the downsides don't exist. It's about being honest with yourself and about what you can handle, what you can plan for, and what actually matters for the lifestyle that you want to build. And if you can do that, Tampa might be exactly what you're looking for. So if you're trying to figure out whether the red flags actually apply to your specific situation, not Tampa in general, but your specific budget, your timeline, your priorities, that's exactly what we help with. The link's in the description. We'll jump on a Zoom call, walk through your numbers, and you'll know one way or another whether this is going to make sense for you. There's no pressure, no obligation, just clarity. And if you're still in research mode, we put out videos like this every single Saturday. Real talk about Tampa Bay, the market, and what the move actually looks like. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the ones that matter for your timeline. I'm Juan Alcala with the True Living Group. I'm gonna put 2 more videos up here that I know are gonna help you on this journey. And as always, until next time, go out and live that Tampa life.